Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I just got out of class here at college, and I'm getting ready to go on home. And I got to thinking about making friends. I think making friends is a lot easier than what we really think. Often we cloud it up and think, oh, friends are so difficult to make. But we've got to be open to friendship if we want to make friends. And I believe it's often us who has to initiate the friendship in order to create it. So many people don't initiate a conversation. They wait for someone else to open up. And often it just doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's really, really up to us to create a friendship. I'm very friendly. I'm warm. I kind of, while everyone is looking down at their phones, sometimes I'll try to engage in a conversation and get someone off their phone, not really off their phone, but just, to get into some conversation. And often people welcome that. Often they're looking at their phones because they don't know what else to do. And so if we want to make friends, I think we have to be friendly and, sometimes get people into a conversation in the right way. And when we do that, often it can work towards a friendship. But friendships are often up to us. And if we wait for other people to create them for us, often they just simply do not happen. So if you want to make a friend, be a friend. From my house to yours, God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Mashed potato candy fudge and homemade potato cheese kielbasa broccoli soup. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I just wanted to share with you what I made last night. I made both of these last night. The fudge had to harden overnight, and the soup gets better overnight because all of the spices set in. And so I wanted to share what I made and kind of give you a general idea of how I made it. And if you want to really look up a recipe for potato broccoli cheese soup with kielbasa, you can probably find it somewhere online. The same way for mashed potato fudge candy. Long story short, I went to Aldi's yesterday and they had potatoes on sale. And so I bought a 10-pound bag, even though I'd already had a 5-pound bag of potatoes. And so I did not want to waste potatoes, and I figured out recipes that I could use. Well, I had remembered potato candy fudge and mashed potato candy fudge, but I hadn't eaten it in forever. And so I thought, well, I'm going to make some soup. And so I made my kielbasa soup with potatoes, and then I made the candy fudge. So basically, it's really, really easy. Okay, with the kielbasa potato cheese broccoli soup, it's just as it sounds. It has those ingredients in it. And in addition to those ingredients, I add butter, and of course I add cheese, and I add some milk, and I add bouillon, chicken bouillon, and I add different spices. I love garlic, pepper, a little bit of oregano, whatever I like to put in spice-wise. And so basically, I brown my kielbasa, I cube it, brown it with onions and garlic and a little bit of celery, and I brown that in butter. And then I add that to the potatoes that I've already boiled, which have the skins on them, but they're not boiled completely complete. They're only boiled where they're soft but not falling apart. I cool them down and then I cube them. And then once they're cubed, I add some milk. And I don't add the cheese until the end, but I add all the kielbasa and I add all the ingredients together. And then I bring it back to a simmer. And then I put the cheese in right at the end. And it is so, so delicious. So if you decide that you want to make potato cheese kielbasa soup, probably find a recipe online and then kind of make it your way. And with the mashed potato cheese fudge, not mashed potato cheese fudge, mashed potato fudge candy. There's no cheese in it. I guess you could add cheese, but it is so awesome. And basically, it's an old-fashioned recipe. I hadn't made it in a long time. Found a recipe online, but I ended up going according to my remembered recipe. And I ended up using, I took 2 big potatoes, put them in the microwave, and after they were soft, I cooled them, peeled all the peelings off completely 100%, and then I mashed them. I added 2 tablespoons of butter and a full box of confectionery sugar. Now the confectionery sugar needs to be added slowly and over a period of mixing it, and that's what I did. At the very end, I added some peanut butter, but you can add chocolate, you can add morsels, you can add what you want, and I add a little vanilla. And I put it on a buttered plate, a buttered dish, and then I put it in the refrigerator, covered up overnight. And it is so awesome. My sons think it is the best thing they've ever tasted. They had never had it before because I had never made it before. So now, I am going to go over here, one last look at the potato, cheese, broccoli soup. I'm going to go over here and have a little taste, okay? And you all know I've been on a fast, and I'm still kind of on a fast. I've messed up a couple times, but I'm on day 6. Don't recommend it to anybody. It's just what I do to reboot. And that's a whole nother video that I've done. So anyhow, here is the taste of the fudge. You can see it on the, oh my gosh. So good. It is absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, enough for one night. I don't want to break my fast yet. Although tomorrow night we're going out to dinner, and I'm really looking forward to that. But being on a fast, I have to gradually bring back foods into my diet. So, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't know how long I'm going to be on it. I never make any suggestions about it, but it's just what I've been doing. And I tend to cook a lot when I fast. So, but that's another video. And anyhow, so I hope you're all doing wonderful and having a great day. And I just wanted to share my recipe on my mashed potato fudge, if you've never heard of it. And I really didn't share the recipe, I just kind of told you generally how I make it. And like I said, you can probably find the recipe online, although the fudge is really easy to make and the soup is not hard at all. So from my house to yours, God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Being willing to make great new decisions. Sacrificing and making new great decisions. Hello y'all, I'm Diana Brienne. Well, it's coming evening here and I've been out in the garden, so I'm a little bit of a mess right now, and I'm going to go take a shower or a bubble bath first, and then I'm going to make dinner. We're having nachos tonight, and so I'm getting ready to make them. And it's coming evening now here, and I just love our evenings here. And so I got to thinking today about how people often don't want to sacrifice for their dreams. They often don't want to sacrifice for their solutions. They often don't want to sacrifice for their relationships. They just don't want to sacrifice. And so many people in the older generations had to sacrifice so much to get to where they are and where they got to. And many people in today's life don't want to sacrifice at all. They feel entitled. They feel like they shouldn't have to work. They feel like they shouldn't have to do what it needs, they need to do to make their life happen in the right way. A lot of people just don't want to sacrifice anymore. They want everything given to them, and that is not part of the success equation. Sacrifice is part of the success equation, in my opinion, and so few people want to make any kind of positive sacrifices. And sometimes we have to give up one thing to get another, or sometimes we have to give forth the energy, the time, the momentum to make great things happen, whether it's on a job, whether it's going to college, whether it's great fitness and great health, no matter what it happens to be. And in our relationships, to have a great relationship, sometimes we have to sacrifice. I gave up a wonderful job and a whole lifestyle in California in order to marry the man of my dreams 30 years ago. And it was so well worth it. I sacrificed one thing to obtain another. And I'm so glad I did. And the other thing I thought about is make new great decisions. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they had made about 3 solid years of bad decisions, purposefully in a sense. They knowingly did it. And I told them, I said, it's time to turn your life around. It's time to turn it around in a positive direction and make 3 years of amazing decisions, wonderful decisions. And even though their life may not look exactly like what it would have looked like had they followed their original positive pathway, they can make it even more amazing by turning their life around. But they have to make consistent, small, medium, and large, and huge, great decisions, one right after the other. If they make the right decisions the way they made their wrong decisions, they will end up with a beautiful life. And so I believe that. And so I believe that it's never too late to turn your life around. It may not look exactly the same. Sometimes we can't change mistakes that we've made or the outcomes of it, but we can create a new life and a wonderful life based upon positive, consistent, new, brand new decisions. And so I always believe that people can create an amazing, wonderful life through their decisions and choices, and be willing to give the energy to those decisions to create the momentum in order to create the results that they want. And so, yeah, I believe that. So sacrifice, yes, I believe that sometimes in life we have to sacrifice in order to get what we want, like the older generation did. They sacrificed for just about everything they had in their life, and they sacrificed for us so that we could have what we want. But yet, many people who've never had the sacrifice don't understand that sacrifice is a very, very important part of the success equation. And sometimes we have to sacrifice our time. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our energy. Sometimes we have to sacrifice one thing for the other in order to achieve the results that we want. And I believe that making great decisions is the way to go, because if we make as many great decisions as we can, often our life will turn out the way we want, or even better. From my house to yours, may God bless y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye. And it's getting dark now. Beautiful evening, wonderful evening. Making new friends. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. I love to make new friends. I really do. I'm a friendly type of person. So when I get out there, I tend to meet a lot of people. One thing I notice in making friends is that you've got to be friendly in order to do it. And if you're not friendly, you're likely not going to meet anybody. And often people wait for other people to come up to them, to, start talking to them. And even sometimes, like, I'll start talking to someone just casually, about the weather or something. Not all people are receptive. Not all people want to talk. Some people are closed in, looking at their phones, texting, whatever. And so I just move on. I know taking classes at college, often we have to wait in between classes, and we're sitting in the hall. And one of the things I noticed is most people are staring at their phones, tapping away. They're not even looking up or even really fully aware of what's going on around them. So I try to put my phone away, and I just kind of sit there and see if anyone else has put their phone away, and then maybe I try to start up a conversation. And usually I do. Usually I find someone who wants to talk, and we gather some good conversation there. And I'm friendly. But I realize just because I'm friendly, not all people are friendly, and not all people are receptive. Some people are just lost in their own world. But I always remember it's kind of a numbers game in life. If you want to make a friend, you've got to be friendly. And so you're going to meet people that are not so nice, that are not so friendly, that are not going to necessarily think, the same way as you do. And that's okay. That's all right. And so for me, I just, friendly to people at random, as long as it's safe to do so and socially appropriate. And And like I said, it's kind of a numbers game. Even when I go running by the lake and it's kind of a big circle, there's a lot of people out there. And as I go by, I say hi, hi, hi. And I've noticed about 7 out of 10 people say hi back, and about 3 out of 10 don't. That's kind of how I've gauged it. Maybe sometimes more people say hi back, maybe sometimes 9 out of 10. Most people will respond. And sometimes, even engage in a conversation, I slow down, I stop and engage in a conversation if it seems appropriate or the right thing to do. And so I actually met one of my friends out at the lake. She was power walking and I was running, and we just got talking, and you can meet friends just about anywhere as long as it's safe and as long as it's appropriate. It's not that hard to make new friends, or at least some acquaintances. We don't know who's going to become a friend and who's not. We really don't. It's kind of a random mix in there. We go out, we're friendly, we make an acquaintance, we think that maybe they'll become a friend and they don't. Sometimes we meet somebody and we don't think they'll become a friend and they do. And often the people that we bond with are people that we have something in common with. We have a common bond. We work together, go to church together, go to the gym together, things like that. But we can also meet people in situations that we really don't have a common bond. And sometimes we can create that bond just through being nice and being friendly. And I love new friends. I love new friends to add to the mix of old friends, and gives my old friendships a lot of energy and a lot of newness and excitement. And, so I'm always adding new friends, or at least new acquaintances in my life. And I find that it's easy to do that because I'm friendly. And then sometimes I find people that, I don't really want to be friends. I don't even want to be an acquaintance. But, that's just kind of part of the numbers game. You find that out later sometimes. Sometimes up front and right away. So you say, that's not going to work. But other times you don't know that until later. And we have to remember, everybody has their personality quirks. Everybody is varying degrees of what they're going to be like as a friend. I have friends that I can call and laugh with. I have other friends I can call, and if I needed to cry, I could cry with. I have friends that, and they're not all the same person. I have one friend that we just kind of do things together, like go to movies together. I have another friend that likes to go to lunch. I have another friend that just likes to go exercise. So, all friends are not going to be the same. They're probably going to be different. And so we find a common bond somewhere in there. And sometimes we have to create that common bond. But it starts with being friendly. I hope you subscribe to my channel here, and I hope to talk to you all soon. So from my house to your house, God bless you. Be friendly. You rock on. Making right friends. Our friends can affect our lives. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. The importance of friendship. I love my friends. I have amazing friends. And yet, I know that it's important in my choice of friendship, who I choose as a friend, and perhaps who I do not choose as a friend. I want to show you my day first, okay? It's just beautiful out here, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Can you see? I'm going for my run. Anyhow, I got to thinking about the choice of our friendships and the choice of our friends. There's a book or something wrote, like, your closest 5 friends or something will affect your life. And I do believe that, because I think we're all impressionable. If my friend tells me something, that's going to stick in there, and it's going to stick in my mind. I may or may not do what they suggest, but it's going to be in my mind. And often we're more impressionable than we really think that we are. And so I'm very selective in the people that I surround myself with. I want competent people. I want people that are can-do people that are motivated, energized, excited. I don't want people that are dull and boring and just don't know what to do with life. I want people that say, hey, I may not know the answer, but I'm going to figure it out. I want can-do people. And I do think our friends are so important. Our friends can affect our lives in great ways, good ways, or bad ways. If you're hanging around somebody who has a lot of bad habits, or even worse, it can affect our own lives directly or indirectly. So yeah, where we hang out at is important too. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, why do you hang out there? You're a married person, and in my opinion, in my humble opinion, married people really should not be hanging out there without their spouse. Now, a lot of you may say, oh, well, we should be able to go wherever we want and trust. I believe in trust, but I also believe in not putting ourselves in places where we should not be, because sometimes things can happen, things can be said, things can be misunderstood, and so or misinterpreted. I don't live my life for other people interpreting my life, and yet I don't want to add anything to my life that is going to affect my life in the way that I wouldn't want it. So I'm very careful where I go. I'm very careful. My husband and I, we will go out to dinner together. Now, if he was always going out to dinner by himself, I probably wouldn't like that, unless he's on a business trip or something like that. I think that there's protocol within each relationship of how we behave and what we do, and also how other people see what we do. And so, yeah, I think friends are so important in my life, and the right friends for my life. And I'm nice to just about everybody if they're nice to me. And yet I don't allow everyone to come up close and personal in my life. I let the right people for my life. And we all have different right people. What's right for you may not be right for me, and vice versa. And the right places, the right places for my life, because right places bring us opportunity. Wrong places can bring us problems. And so I make sure that I'm in the right places for my life. And also, at what kind of time, is the timing right for me to be where I'm at? Is the timing right for me to be, going out to lunch with my friends? I mean, if I have studying to do, it's not the right timing. I'm in college again. And so I have a lot of homework. And so sometimes I can go out to lunch, sometimes I can't. And so I think it's just really, really important that we have great friends who respect our boundaries and that we respect their boundaries, and that encourage us and lift us up and stay away from the wrong people that can affect our lives adversely. For me, I do. I make a point to be polite and nice, but avoid people that are train wrecks. Some people live their life as a train wreck, unfortunately, and that's just the way they do. I don't want to be around people like that. I want to be around people that are thoughtful, informed, and doing their very best at making the right decisions for their lives. So that will rub off on me too. Well, I hope you subscribe. God bless you, and I hope to talk to you all soon. So from my house to your house, God bless you, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. Be a mentor and find great mentors. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I just got home a little bit ago from my college classes, an hour away. It's a good long drive in there, and then it's a good long drive back. But I enjoy it. It's kind of a relaxing time where I'm driving, and sometimes I listen to music, but not usually. I usually just kind of drive and let my thoughts drift off, and while I'm focusing on driving, of course, but let my thoughts kind of, I don't know, come up with genius ideas. Well, I got to thinking today about being a mentor. I believe that mentors are so very, very important. We can be a mentor to our children. Our parents can be a mentor to us. Even sometimes our children can mentor us in certain areas. Like my son, he knows so much about computers, and he often mentors me in the new things that I need to learn on the computer. But having great mentors is the free way to success. Some people travel on the back roads to get to where they want to go, and it can take them forever. But if you have a mentor, it's like being on a super highway, a super freeway. They can get you there so much faster. Often we can avoid mistakes. We can avoid ditches and chuck holes in life when we have a great mentor who can help navigate us and keep us on the right roads and in the right direction. You know, I've been very fortunate. I've had some really, really great mentors in all different areas of life. Remember, no one mentor can fulfill every single area of your life. But I often try to be a mentor to many. And, you know, I can't mentor them in areas I know nothing about, but in areas that I do know something about, or I know a lot about, I can help others be the best them that they can be, and perhaps they'll help me back and mentor me back in the best way that I can be with their knowledge. You know, sometimes it's a two-way exchange. We mentor each other. Sometimes we simply mentor someone else. Sometimes someone simply mentors us. And we can have a mentor who shows us how to dress, you know, how to look stylish, or we can have a mentor that shows us how to speak, do public speaking, or just, you know, regular speaking. We can emulate someone else's style and voice and make it our own. Remember, we always want to make it our own. We don't want to be like someone else. We just want to take the qualities that they have and make them our own. And so often we can learn so much from a great mentor, and I believe in great mentors, and I love great mentors, and I love being a great mentor. I'm always helpful to people that I know truly want mentorship. Not all people want mentorship. Not all people want someone to help them. A lot of people don't want to do the work, so they don't want mentoring. A lot of people just keep making the same old mistakes because they refuse to listen to a qualified, great mentor. Remember, not all mentors are the same, so you have to find right mentors for the area of life that you want mentored in. And so I wouldn't go to a doctor if I wanted to learn how to play baseball. I would go to a baseball player to mentor me. And likewise, I wouldn't go to a baseball player if I wanted to learn more about medicine. I would go to a doctor. So remember, mentors come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them can be younger than us. Some of them, many of them are older than us. Some of them can be the same age. And mentors just come in so many shapes and sizes and forms, but mentors are the super highway to the successes that we dream of. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People are moody. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I'm getting ready to go on my way home. I just finished my classes here at college, and I got to thinking about, you know, sometimes we'll meet somebody one time and they're one way, and the next time we meet them and they're another way. And people do have their moods, and people, you know, often have things going on in their own lives that we don't know anything about. And so sometimes we have to realize that people are not always going to be the same one day as they are the next. Generally speaking, people are pretty consistent in who they are. If they're nasty one day, they're probably going to be nasty again in the future. If they're nice one day, they'll probably be nice in the future. But people, everybody has things going on in their lives, which, you know, one day they may come in and be in a really cheerful mood. Another day they may come in and be in a quiet mood. You know, it doesn't mean anything is wrong. It just means that they're dealing with their own stuff in their own life. Might not be anything bad. It might be good stuff, but they may be distracted. Sometimes people are really friendly to us, and other times they're not. And that's just the way it is. So I never really pay much attention to that. It's usually how a person is overall, generally speaking, when you add it all together. That's kind of how I decide on who a person is, more so than just one instance, because one instance doesn't really reflect the whole person. Okay, from my house to yours, God bless you, and I'm on my way home. Bye-bye. Moving into an RV. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, as you can tell, I'm wearing another one of my little wigs, and I'm putting them on. I'm trying them on today for convenience because I'm getting ready to start up my new semester at age 62 in college. And so life is going to get very, very busy. And so for me, I want the convenience of wigs during this time. I am taking 16 credit hours, 16 unit credit hours, which is a lot. It's more than a full load for those of you that may not know how many hours 16 is, plus their advanced courses in some of the cases. And so for me, I want convenience because, well, I have 3 young adult kids who live at home, who also go to college, and I'm busy with them, my husband, and all the rest of my life. I'm an artist, I paint, I write, I do so much. I go to the gym every day, I work out. So I need convenience. And so for me, wigs can do that. But that was a whole nother video. This video is about moving into an RV. Well, I don't plan on doing it right yet, but years ago, my husband and I, we had 2 different RVs, and they were motorhomes, and we absolutely loved those motorhomes. They were just fantastic. And so my husband asked me, he said, honey, what are your dreams for this coming year? And I said, well, I would like to own a camper, maybe not a motorhome, maybe not an RV yet, but he doesn't like, well, he likes campers, but he likes a motorhome better because he likes to drive it. And so I told him, I said, you know what, honey, someday when we're ready, and if we ever want to downsize, which I don't think we'll ever do because I'm not a downsizer. I'm an upsizer, but not a downsizer. And so I said, you know what, I think I would like our retirement home, at least part of the year, to be a motorhome. And we both like motorhomes, and they're so convenient, and they do take a lot of work and a lot of maintenance and things like that, and my husband's good at that. And so I told him, I said, I would really like to have another motorhome. When our kids turned teenagers, they got involved in sports and school activities and things like that. So we sold our motorhome. And but we had done 48 states with our kids when I was back homeschooling. And it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We have such wonderful, incredible memories. But going into the next season of our lives, maybe the retirement season, although I will never retire. I'm a college student, and I'm always moving forward. And yet, in that season of our lives, a motorhome may be something really, really wonderful, because you can take the motorhome anywhere, go visit your kids, pull up in the driveway, you have your own place, you want to go visit relatives, you don't have to like go stay with them, you have your own place, go to an RV park nearby, or pull up in the driveway, or in some cases, some people go to shopping centers and they park there. Some shopping centers welcome RVers, and so you never know. But I love the idea of moving into an RV part of the year. But the reason I probably would not do it all year long is because I have too much stuff. I have my paintings, which I would never want to give up, my antiques and things like that. So I would always want to keep a home base. And while some people are downsizing, that's just, I hope, not what I want to do. I like to keep things the same or upsize. But I would love to upsize into a motorhome because, that's kind of my dream for my future, is to have another motorhome. And so we got talking about that last night. Well, I hope you all are having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And I'm headed off to the gym now. So from my house to yours, God bless you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you all soon, hopefully. Move, move, move. Keep moving. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brianne, and we are having this absolutely beautiful, beautiful day out here today. And normally I run in the morning, but I have to go to college today. I'm a 62-year-old college student and an eternal learner, and so I have to go to college today. And so one more time, I'll let you see how beautiful it is. How about that? And I wish I could be out there running, but I cannot be. So I'm heading on to class right now. And it's about an hour away and then an hour home. But I wanted to talk to you about keep on moving. I think when we move in the right direction and we're moving, we're going to get there. eventually. And a lot of people just don't move in life. They don't make the right changes in life. They stay stagnant. They stay stuck. And if they're happy where they're at, that's one thing. But if they're unhappy, my belief is always to move in the right direction. I think the key to it is a lot of people don't know what the right direction is for themselves. And so if you don't know what the right direction is, sometimes you'll go in circles. And I've gone in circles many, many times in my life as I was trying to discover what it is that I was looking for. And often I found it. Actually, each and every time I eventually found what I was looking for, even though I didn't know what it was in the beginning, but I kept on moving. Even if it was in circles, I kept on going. Just like going to college. I didn't know I was going to go to college, but after my youngest son graduated high school, I just said, you know what, I have this extra time, and of course I have a very full life anyhow, and yet I didn't want to waste that time and just going to lunch or, whatever, hanging out. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be productive during that time. So I started driving around. And actually, the city that I go to college in is the same city that I would go to drive around, because that's where my husband and I were originally married, and sort of like memory lane. And so I would just drive around and around thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to get a job? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And you know what? I ended up coming up with the idea, or perhaps, the idea came to me to go back to college. And then it was a step-by-step process in the right direction. At first I was going in circles, and then I was going in the right direction. And there were times that I, came up against roadblocks, changes, didn't know if it was going to happen. And then it happened. So I believe in keep on moving, moving, moving. And people who are unwilling to go in circles sometimes, usually, often don't get anywhere. They stay stuck day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. Okay, so I thought I would share that with you. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I hope to talk to you soon again. So from my beautiful day to your beautiful day, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Moving to an island, stories from my life. Funny stories from my life, moving to an island. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I love to share little stories from my life periodically to kind of keep the mood lightened. I talk about all kinds of subjects. I talk about very deep subjects. I talk about funny subjects. I talk about whatever. I show you, that I'm making a garden out back. And so I love to share different things. And so this one is a story from my life. Well, we were living, we were living in Kansas. And we had come back from Europe, and we had moved to Alabama, which I love Alabama. And then we moved to Kansas, and we had this great big historic old house, and the floors squeaked, and my children were all babies at the time. I think like 0, 1, and 2, or 1, 2, and 3. It was that type of, they were very young. And so we had this great big hallway, and it was huge. It was real long. We put a big screen TV down at the end so we could put like little kids programs on it and that. And so my kids had like a whole area that they could play in, because we had the baby gates up, and I remember my youngest was in like a little stroller, and he would stroll back and forth with his little feet, and he loved, I think it was Thomas the Train. He loved that, so we used to put the Thomas the Train videos on, and I loved that house. And then one day my husband said, hey, we're going to move to Savannah. And I said, oh my gosh, okay, I guess that's fine. I've never been to Savannah. Well, I said, you know what? If we're going to move there, then we've got to move well, we've got to move to someplace special to make it a special time, because I've always taken wherever we've moved and made it memorable in the most wonderful of ways. So I got to researching, and I noticed that there was this little island off the coast of Savannah. And it was connected by a tiny itty bitty little bridge to another like island, a marsh island that didn't have anything on it but a historic old battle or fort. And then it connected to another island, and then it connected to Savannah. And so I said, I want to live there. So my husband flew over there and checked out a few houses, and when he came back, we put a request in, but all the houses had gotten taken. So there was this one house that was brand new but very small, near the beach, but we hadn't seen it. And so the realtor sent us a few pictures of it, and it was either that or none. So we bought it sight unseen. Well, I don't recommend buying a house sight unseen, although in the longer term picture, it turned out wonderful, and we had wonderful, amazing memories there. So away we go from Kansas. I had a big expedition. I followed my husband in his green pickup truck. We had the walkie-talkies, we were going across country, and had my husband had I think he had my 3-year-old in the truck with him in a car seat, and I had my baby in the car carrier that was turned like around, and you know how you had to turn the car carriers around and facing the other way, and then my daughter, and we just followed each other across country. It was so exciting. And so we got to Savannah. We spent the night in this really kind of rundown motel because we didn't know where we were at, and we needed a place to sleep, and we got in there too late to find anything really. And so we stayed there. Next morning we went over to the nice hotel, and then we ended up driving out to the island. I was so excited. And it was just so beautiful, the trip over, because you're crossing over bridges and beautiful, the ocean and seagulls, and it was just magical. And we had the 3 kids in the back seat of the expedition because we had a big 3-road expedition. And as we're going over, we're looking for the house. We weren't sure where the house was, but the island is only 2.5 miles long and a half-mile wide. So we knew we couldn't get lost. So finally, we saw this little tiny alley. It was a tiny alley near the beach, but a tiny alley. And we go, oh my gosh, it's down like this little dead-end street. And it was down this little dead-end street, the little dead-end dirt road on an island. And here we bought this new house, sight unseen, on this island, and down this little kind of alley dirt way. And so nonetheless, we were kind of taken back at first, but we went up, we had the keys, we unlocked the door. We loved the little house. It was a tiny house, but it was perfect for us at the time. We later made a great big screened in front porch that went from one end to the other, that turned into the kids' play area. And it was wonderful. Well, we ended up having some of our best memories in that house of our life, because, well, we would take the kids in the little Red Ryder wagon. All 3 of them would fit in, pull them on the beach, pull them in the sand, go to the beach every day, feed the seagulls. It was amazing, and it was a wonderful time of our life. But the house was small, and the house was down this little tiny alleyway. And so the moving van came, and the moving van couldn't get around the corner, but finally when it did, it couldn't get down the little street, so it tried to back in down the street, and it got stuck. It got stuck between 2 big wooden poles that were in the ground, and it couldn't move. So now you had this big moving truck stuck in an alleyway, a one-way alleyway, so we couldn't get in, couldn't get out, and the moving van couldn't get out. And they couldn't get a tow truck because there was no room for it, because everything is close together. I don't know how they ever got that moving van out and how they ever got all of our furniture up, but they did. And so we lived out on that little island for a very long time, and we still have our little house there many years later. And so we still have our beach house, and we don't live there full time, of course, but it was just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of our life with magical memories and, walks on the beach. And we went to the beach every day. I loved it. And we still go there. We still go there, and we have dear friends on the island, and it's just been a magical experience. So you never know where life is going to take you, but anywhere we've ever moved, I've always wanted to make it a wonderful memory. When we moved to Europe, I told my husband, I said, we didn't have children at the time, and I said, you know what, let's travel as much as we can, because someday we're going to have children, and then we're not going to be able to travel like this as freely. And I was right. And I said, you know, someday we may end up in Alabama with 3 children, and we did. And how ironic is that? And so we're living down in Alabama, which I love Alabama. I really do. And so anyhow, but I loved living in Europe, and we traveled all over Europe, and I did a whole video on that, and I'll have to do another video on that again. So many fun times and fun stories, like the time we almost got robbed down by the Coliseum in the back of our pickup truck. We were sleeping in the back of our pickup truck, and the bandits came. Or the time the train caught on fire in one of the old Eastern Bloc countries in middle of winter, and we had to get off, you know, or the time I got lost on the Autobahn, going the wrong way, going a different way than I should have, and ended up almost in another country, and I didn't know how to get home. It was really something. So a lot of great stories, and I like to share those stories from my life. But anyhow, wish y'all a wonderful day, and we are having a beautiful day out here on Grandma's porch. And so I am going to go. I did my run, and my son and I are going to go out for a little bit, and then my husband's going to come home. He's playing golf, and we'll have a nice dinner. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Much love to y'all. May God bless you. Talk to y'all then. Bye-bye. Moving to Europe, stories from my life. Life in Europe, stories from my life. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, y'all know that I love to tell my little stories, true stories from my life. They're usually about my own life, but sometimes they're about other people, but I don't ever tell who the other people are, and I keep that to myself. And usually I change the names and the places of people as it goes. But anyhow, this one goes back to Europe. My husband and I, we moved to Europe due to his work. And of course, my work followed as well. And so we moved over to Europe, and we flew over on the big plane. Well, prior to that, we had been visiting in-laws, and it had been a little bit cold that weekend, and I caught a cold, and I rarely ever catch colds. So as soon as I stepped on the plane, I wasn't feeling good. I felt fine until I got on the plane, and then I didn't feel good. So the plane ride for me was rather miserable, going clear across country, or clear across the ocean. And so we moved to Europe. We landed there. Some friends picked us up, and away we went. And we stayed in this like a type of guest house place for about 2 weeks. And our bicycles and light goods got delivered first. And so we had to ride everywhere on our bicycle. Of course, we didn't speak the language, and we would go to like a bakery, and we'd have to kind of point, you know, and get our little book out to say, you know, how do we say it in, you know, whatever language we happen to be in. And so it was such an exciting time. It really, really was. We finally found a little apartment, and it was on the second level of a big home. And the way the Europeans often do it is they have like a multi-family house, and that was sort of what this one was. And so we had this wonderful, magical little apartment on the second level. And I had a landlady who didn't speak English. And so she was trying to teach me her language, and she was trying to teach me how to cook her way. And I sort of became a second daughter to her. And we just built a wonderful, wonderful relationship. We got one of those little black and white TVs over there. And we didn't understand the language, but we would sit there and we'd watch all these shows and try to figure out what they were saying. And some of them were so funny. And then I developed a few of my favorite programs. Back then, we didn't have DVDs or online type of things. And so I had books and cassettes to learn the new languages. And I did. I had several languages going on at one time that I was trying to learn. And then shortly thereafter, we began to travel. And I loved, loved, loved traveling in Europe. It was very exciting. And I was a little bit nervous at first driving because, well, you know, the highways and the roads were very, very different. I love to shop over there. I used to take my bicycle to the market, and I would take my bicycle and I would pedal it, and I'd have a basket so that I could you know, bring home the food in, because they didn't, you know, bag it like we do here in the country, in our country. And so it was so neat and so cool. I'm sitting here in Grandma's parlor on Grandma's 100-year-old sofa, and it's a beautiful day out today. And so we moved to Europe, and I didn't speak the language in the beginning, but I was trying real hard. And I went to the grocery store, and I was trying to tell this lady that she looked very busy, but instead I said she looked very damaged. I didn't know that's what I said till later. And she kind of looked at me at first, you know, kind of stunned. And then she knew what I meant, and she kind of laughed. And I still didn't know why she was laughing. So we had all kinds of neat little experiences. I love the food, and I did learn the languages over there, pretty much self-taught. Then we had to move a couple different times, and we moved to one place, and I loved it. But then like 6 months later, we had to move again because we got transferred. And so we moved to Bavaria, and oh my gosh, it was like Heidi territory with cows and chickens and all of that. I loved, loved, loved it. And we had a little BMW convertible, and we used to take it through all the farm fields because we lived around all these farms. And there was one restaurant in town, but it was only open on occasion. And that was it. It was magical, just like Heidi. I felt like Heidi. So one time, my husband and I decided to go to Italy, and we went down and we drove in our green pickup truck, and it had a cap on the back, so we stayed in the back of it at night. And so we pulled it up by the Colosseum, and we kind of put it in backwards by a brick wall. And so we went to sleep in the back. Well, lo and behold, these bandits came by, and I couldn't understand what they were saying, but my husband was sound asleep. And so I started saying, I started in another language, and I started to scream at them like I was a crazy woman. And at first they started laughing, and then they kind of took me seriously, and so they got away. They took off. Thank goodness. I woke my husband up, and then I said, let's get out of here. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, we went down to the Vatican, and it wasn't open yet. And so we just kind of sat there, and finally the Vatican opened up, and we went to go inside, but they said my husband had to go change clothes because he had shorts on, and men had to have pants on. I had a dress on. And so he had to go back, and he had to change into pants, and then we went into the Vatican, and it was wonderful, beautiful. And then we went up to the Tower of Pisa and drove up there in our pickup truck, and that was really cool and neat, and I loved Italy. And I remember going to one of the Eastern Bloc countries on a train, former Eastern Bloc countries, on a train, and the train caught fire in the middle of the night. And so they made us all get out of the train, and it was like 20 below zero. It was freezing, freezing cold, but somebody's cigarette had caught the train on fire. What experiences we have had, and there's so many more. When we went to move to Bavaria, my husband had left a couple weeks beforehand because my job wasn't finished yet. And so when I closed up our apartment, this is before we had cell phones, I didn't have any communication then at that point because, well, I turned over the keys and the phone was done. And I took off, and I put Mick Jagger into the DVD. No, was it a DVD? No, I think it was a tape player. And I was listening to Sweet Thing, you know, Sweet Thing. And I'm driving on the Autobahn in my BMW convertible, and I got lost. and I had no real way because I couldn't remember how to get to where I needed to go now that I got lost. And my husband was already there with our new house. And so nobody seemed to know where that little tiny village was. And so I ended up by another border of another country, and I knew I was really lost. And I got so, so scared. So I pulled over in my little BMW convertible. It was approaching evening, and I was like crying. And this truck driver came over and he said, can I help you? I see, he knew I was American. And so he tried to speak English. And I said, I'm lost and I don't know how to get there. And I told him where I had to go. And he said, my brother-in-law used to live there. How lucky was I? So he said, follow me. And, I did. And so here I am in this little BMW following this big semi truck over hill and dell and Autobahn and everywhere, and then country farm fields. And he got me right to the right little village that we were living in. And there was my husband and all of his friends standing at the end of the street trying to figure out how to find me. They'd already put out a police report on missing woman. That was me. But there I pull up in my little BMW and I go, Auf Wiedersehen, to the truck driver. And he goes, Auf Wiedersehen, which means goodbye. And he was wonderful. He was like my angel. So, we had so many magical, amazing times in our 5 years of living in Europe. We traveled so many places, and I had a couple different fabulous jobs while I was there. And it was just magical. And so I am so grateful that I had that time in Europe. And, I think life is very special because each part of life is very special if you make it special. It's up to us what we do with the season of our life. Some people could have had that experience and not enjoyed it. Other people make the most of it. And I make the most of every single season of my life. Well, from my house to yours, from my story to yours, may God bless you all, and I'll talk to you all soon again. And so from my beautiful day to your beautiful day, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Do you make music or do you make noise? Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Our lives are like a symphony. And when everything comes together and we're harmonious, it just sounds beautiful, just like a symphony. And when things are not together, when we have a lot of things in our lives that we shouldn't have, or even a little bit of things, it can ruin our symphony of life. And so I got to thinking today about making music in our lives, not literal music, but just music with our lives. I know a lot of people make a lot of noise. It just seems like their life squeaks all the time. They've always got issues of one kind or the other. Now, granted, we all have issues, we all have problems, we all have things that we've got to work out, but it's in our attitude and how we're working those things out that can produce a symphony, or it can produce a bunch of noise. And I think when we surround ourselves with a lot of negativity and a lot of negative people, often we're going to make a lot of noise because those other people kind of add to our symphony, so to speak. And if they're squeaking a lot, it can ruin the symphony. So I'm very, very particular about who I add into my life, and I'm very particular about how I live my life. And it comes down to attitude. Like I said, we all get problems, we all get issues, we all get things that maybe are not quite right in our life. And yet, if we're working through those, if we're doing our very, very best and we keep a great attitude, often we're going to play a symphony. And when we start to weed out things from our lives that don't belong there, often that's when the music gets better and better and better. So really, I think people's lives are often like a symphony or like a bunch of noise. From my house to yours, I hope you love my beautiful day here. and I am getting ready for college, and I will talk to you all soon. So from my house to yours, may God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Looking for the good side in people. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne, and I am sitting out here on my porch. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, and it's hard to believe that it is winter. Winter, winter, winter. I mean, it's hard to believe it, and I'm enjoying it. I still haven't taken down my porch and outside decorations yet, so if you see wires on the ground, because it's daytime, the Christmas lights are turned off, and I will finish taking down my ornaments probably over the next week. And I did take a lot of decorations down already, but I still have my tree up and my outside decorations. And so I got to thinking about difficult people, challenging people, looking for the good side in people, the very, very best that we can. And, you know, sometimes it's very difficult to find the good in someone, especially when they're being very, very challenging and difficult. And I know for me, I look for the good in whoever I meet. I really do. I look for the good in people. I want to find the best. You know, I always know that there's something good in everyone, or at least I believe. But sometimes we have to search really, really deep to find it. Some people have such personality flaws, at least on the surface, we don't even want to go past the surface. But if we do try to go past the surface, even sometimes then we have to dig really, really deep, and we may or may not find it. But I do believe that regardless, it is there. You know, there's good personality characteristics in just about everybody that we meet. But, you know, sometimes it's just harder to find those qualities in some people. Some people it's really easy. The other day I was talking to somebody, and you know, they had, I normally don't shut my door like that, but being that I'm holding the camera, I did. And normally what, you know, we look at people superficially when we first meet them. And so for me, I try to always remember, regardless of what a person looks like, good, I mean, whether they're really attractive, what I consider attractive, or whether I don't consider them attractive, that there's good qualities in there somewhere. And we should not base someone's personality or who they are because we think that they're really attractive. And likewise, we should not think someone is not a good person, not a nice person, not a person worth knowing or not knowing. A person we think, well, we shouldn't get to know them because they don't look as attractive as somebody else in our opinion. I believe that people, you know, people are complex, and yet they're very simple. And, you know, if we scratch below the surface, we will usually find what we're looking for, good or bad. And so for me, I try to go below the surface and discover the good. So as I was saying, I met this one person the other day, and, you know, they had some issues, and I kind of got to thinking, okay, do I want to get to know this person better? Well, I don't think we have a lot in common for me to pursue a friendship, but I did want to know a little bit more about them. And what I discovered was that they were an amazing person, that they had so many amazing, wonderful qualities, and they had such a really, really good heart. And so that kind of made me remember that people do have great qualities. People do have great things about them when we dig a little deeper, when we look a little deeper. But there's other people that I have met that I have scratched and looked for their better qualities, and I either didn't find it at the level that I, you know, dug deep into, or it just wasn't worth it for me to get past those barriers. You know, I think sometimes people put up barriers because they don't want people to get close to them. And so sometimes when someone's nasty on the surface, they just really, maybe in some cases, don't want us to get close to them at all. And my camera's a little bit crooked here because my selfie stick, we just ordered a new one and I'm waiting on it. And this one is broken, so it's wobbly and everything else. So I put my camera on a selfie stick when I walk around. And so, yeah, I think for me personally, it's important to scratch below the surface before I, make my judgment about a person, because most often I'll find wonderful qualities. Now, when I find those wonderful qualities, are those wonderful qualities worth me overlooking their bad qualities? And often it's not. Often some people have significant challenges and difficulties personality-wise that I just don't want to go past that, or I don't, no matter what their good qualities are, I recognize their good qualities, but I don't want to be around their bad qualities. And unfortunately, their bad qualities often overshadow their good qualities. I mean, sometimes people can have, sorry. There it went. Okay. Hopefully after tomorrow, we don't have this camera problem. And so, yeah, sometimes we have to decide, is the relationship worth it? Is the relationship worth me staying in there and overlooking the bad, or is the bad too strong that I don't want to overlook it for the good? It's a personal choice. Well, anyhow, I just thought I would discuss that topic with you. And yes, we ordered a brand new, really good selfie stick, and it's coming through the mail and should be here tomorrow. And this one, I by mistake, I broke it the other day. And so I'm still working with it, but it's really challenging to work with this one. So thank you for bearing with me. And I hope you subscribe to my page, my channel. I have pages and I have channels, so this is a channel. So I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. From my house to yours, God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. We all have wisdom. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about wisdom tonight, but beforehand, I want to show you what I got today. Little duckies, okay? Not real duckies. I went to the what I lovingly call the junk store, which is like a thrift shop that donates all of its proceeds to the local community. And I saw these little duckies, and I thought they are so perfect for Easter, even though Easter is not quite here yet. But I love, love, love the duckies. And yes, I leave my little Christmas trees out. I have them, several of them throughout the house, about 6 of them. And I leave those out throughout the year as a night light. And so I have that on right now. But my little duckies, my little duckies. And so tonight I wanted to talk about, well, I just got in from the gym a little bit ago, and I wanted to talk about wisdom. We all have wisdom, and sometimes people say to me, oh, I'd love to listen to your wisdom. And what I tell them is, you have wisdom also. It's just that I get before the camera and I talk about it. I talk about how I see the world, my perception of the world, how I live my life. And yet, each and every person out there has wisdom. And whether they know they have wisdom or they don't know they have wisdom and they have expertise. We all have individual expertise in certain areas that other people don't have. We have our own unique gifts, talents, abilities, and blessings. And everybody does. Everybody does. And so a lot of times people say, well, you have the gift of wisdom. Yes, but so do you. Maybe you just don't realize you have the gift of wisdom. And your wisdom may look different than mine. You may have a different slant or a different perception of things than I do. Or you may interpret them different, but you have your own unique style, your own unique gifts, your own unique blessings, your own unique traits, and your own unique wisdom. And so I love to get on here and share my perspective of the world and how I live my life and how I see the world about me and how I interact with the world. And my little duckies. Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Obstacles. Getting through obstacles. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to thinking about obstacles today because I think that most people encounter obstacles in their lives. They encounter roadblocks. They encounter problems getting to where they want to go in life, whether it's trying to get a job, whether it's trying to build a relationship, whether it's a, financial. It could be in any area of life that we meet up with some obstacles. And some people meet up with them all the time. I mean, I think probably most people meet up with obstacles all the time at one level or another. Not just traffic jams, but kind of a traffic jam in life, so to speak. So what happens when you go through obstacles? Well, I believe that first of all, we have to assess the situation. We have to say, okay, what's really going on here? What's the real cause? Am I pointed in the right direction? Or is this trying to slow me down and realign me to go in another direction? Sometimes I believe that obstacles come in our lives because we're going in the wrong direction. But let's say that we are going in the right direction. We've determined that we are headed in the right direction. Sometimes our timing is not the same as God's timing. I've had many things happen in my life that had my timing occurred, the blessing that I got would not have occurred. And so God had perfect timing for slowing things down, putting roadblocks in my way, and so that I would have perfect timing for my blessing. And so many things. I could tell you many, many stories about my life where roadblocks came before the big blessing. So I often believe that roadblocks often come before a big blessing when we're on a right road towards a right dream. So what happens then? So I believe in assessing the situation. I believe in getting right information, getting all the support that we can possibly get, the right support that can help navigate us and guide us through that obstacle, and to stick with it when we're in the right direction. When we come up against that obstacle, to stick with our plan. Sometimes we have to tweak our plan, change our plan, but stick with going in the right direction. And it's just like a traffic jam. Eventually, you get moving again. And that's kind of how life is. Eventually you will get moving again in that right direction if you stick with it. If you turn around and go back the other way, well, obviously you're not going to get to where you wanted to go even when the traffic jam is over. So think of obstacles as sort of like a traffic jam that has caused the traffic to come to a stop. Eventually, if you're going in the right direction and there's a road ahead, that traffic jam is eventually going to disappear, and you're going to be on the road towards what it is that you want again. And so, yes, I do believe that sometimes God puts obstacles in our way to slow us down so that we can see and realign and often achieve the blessing that we're really meant to have. Other times I think obstacles come and we have to get the right information, we have to navigate, we have to be patient, we have to wait, sometimes we have to look for a way around. But obstacles are just a part of life. And I think the key to it is when we're on a right road, where we know what we want to achieve, is to stay with that and to keep on going in that direction. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Negotiate everything. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, you know what? I got to thinking about negotiate everything. I'm a negotiator. I like to negotiate. Now, there's some things, granted, that I don't negotiate. Some things are not, it's just not right for me to negotiate. And so I know those things. I know which things to negotiate and which things not to negotiate on. But if I'm going to go out and buy a car and they tell me, well, we don't negotiate, then I go to another dealer because I want to negotiate. That's part of the fun of buying a car. And also I believe that there is negotiation room there, and negotiation gives us power. And often I've seen people go onto a car lot and buy a car at sticker price. And I'm like, oh my gosh, don't you know to negotiate? And one time, I remember when my kids were little, and around my 50th birthday, because I'm 62 now, I wanted a motorhome. And I knew my husband might buy me one for my 50th birthday. And so lo and behold, I went around to motorhome place. And there was one motorhome. It came down to two motorhomes at two different, one dealers and one at another dealership. And I told them I have a another motorhome I'm considering buying. And do you know that I reduced that price down on that motorhome so significantly, and I mean significantly. It was amazing, just through the power of negotiation. We didn't end up buying that one. We ended up buying the other one. But it just goes to show that there's a lot of power in negotiation. You have to know if you can negotiate. Some people don't have the power to give you what you want. And if they don't have the power to give you what you want, then no matter how much you negotiate, it's probably not going to work if they don't have the ability to do what you're asking them to do. So you have to understand that as well. But the power of negotiation is a powerful tool in getting what we want, where they win and we win. You don't want someone else to lose so that you can win. You want them to win and yourself to win. And that's the best kind of negotiation, where everybody wins in this. But we don't want to get taken advantage of in anything in life. So I've learned the power of negotiation. I ask for what I want. Even at a restaurant, I'll negotiate to some small degree. You know, can I have my hamburger with this and that and all of that? And can you bring me a little extra, please? And I often get it. Sometimes I don't, but often I do. There's a lot of power in asking for what you want. So many people are afraid to ask. Well, I don't want to ask because, well, what if they say no? So what if they say no? You know, so what? I've got a lot of no's. I got a lot more no's than I got yeses. And yet I got a lot of yeses. And so I wouldn't have got the yeses without the no's. And so I believe in the power of negotiation. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. People who are never thankful. Some people are not thankful no matter what you do. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Lack of gratitude. You know, sometimes lack of gratitude is purposeful. People do it on purpose. There are people that are spoiled and demanding and feel a sense of entitlement and lack gratitude on an ongoing basis. But there are other kinds of people that are selectively ungrateful, selectively unthankful. I remember many years ago, there was this lady who constantly did for others. And she did for this one other, and they were never happy with what she did. There was never enough. They always criticized her afterwards. And I would tell her, why are you giving to them? They don't deserve your kindness. They don't deserve your givingness. They never say thank you. You know, I believe that lack of gratitude can come in many different forms. And if someone is ungrateful around me, I just don't want to be around them. I love to be around grateful spirits because I am one. Someone gives me a glass of water, I'm grateful. And ungrateful people often come in the form of selective ungratefulness. You know, we see it in politics sometimes. No matter what side one is on, the other can do no good. They're never grateful. No matter how much one does for another, it's never enough. And so sometimes, for me personally, I don't give to people that are going to be ungrateful with what I'm going to give. Because why do it? Why give to somebody who's always going to say, it's not good enough? Because you can never fulfill their expectations because they don't want them fulfilled. They may know that what you gave them was plenty and they should be grateful, but they don't want to let you know that they're grateful because that's their form of manipulation. And so I believe it's very, very important to be a grateful person. You know, one day my son, and I have very generous kids and I'm a generous person, but we do it in the right way and I've taught them the right way. And he wanted to buy a gift for someone who was having like a small type of ceremony. And I said, well, that's a pretty nice gift to give to somebody that you don't know all that well, although the person's a nice person. I said, that's a pretty nice gift. I said, maybe you should hold out for right now because, well, I kind of measure my giving based upon what I know about the person. So anyhow, he went ahead and he bought this really nice gift, and he took his money that he had earned and he bought this gift. And he gave it to the person and everything like that. And you know what? He never got a thank you. He never got a thank you note. And the parent never gave, a thank you note. And that spoke volumes to me, because if someone does something nice for me, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. I follow up with a thank you card, a thank you note, a thank you call, a thank you email, a thank you something. But this person didn't do that. And I said, there's a very good lesson in this. You want to be a generous spirit. You want to be a generous heart, but you've got to be selectively generous. And I do not give to people that have an ungrateful spirit or a lack of recognition. Now, I don't need someone to jump up and down and say, oh, you did this for me, but I do want to know that their spirit is of gratitude. And because, well, someone does something nice for me, even if I were not to speak it, I'm grateful. Okay, but I generally speak it. I think grateful people tend to always say thank you. And it's very important to follow things up with a thank you, a sincere thank you. And if someone's done something significant, I believe in writing them a note or writing them a card. It doesn't cost much for a stamp and an envelope. Okay. And so, with people that are always going to be unthankful, there are people out there that no matter what you do, they're going to be unthankful. Well, from my house to yours, may God bless y'all, and I will talk to you all soon. We are having this gorgeous day out here on Grandma's porch, finish my 5-mile run, and my son and I are going to go take a drive and do a little bit of light shopping. So anyhow, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. New adventures in life. New adventures in life, new seasons. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. We are having a beautiful day out. A little overcast, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. And I got to thinking about new adventures. Well, you all know I went back to college at age 62, so that's a new adventure for me. And sometimes when we start a new adventure, we have to shuffle things around a little bit. Like, I'm an artist, but I can't paint quite as much as I did before because I have a lot of homework traveling to and from. I also work out at the gym, so that takes a large amount of time. When my kids were little, I became an artist. I decided one day I was going to pick up a paintbrush and start painting, and I did. And I've never stopped, and that was about 20 years ago. And that was a new adventure. And my total focus was on painting. I mean, besides my children and my husband and my family, I was focused on that painting. That was a season of my life that I gave a tremendous amount of focus, time, and energy to. Right now, I'm giving a tremendous amount of time and energy to my college classes, to making YouTube videos, getting my channel up and running, and to going to the gym, and of course to my family. We have seasons that we go in and out of, and what we gave tremendous focus to, often we don't have to give as much focus to, and we kind of put it, just do maintenance, so to speak. But we have to be careful of maintenance, because if it's an area of our lives that has flourished and that we've done wonderful in, such as our relationships, we just don't want to put it on maintenance. We want to continue for it to flourish by investing new positive energy. So I'm very careful when I put something to the side, not to put it to the side too long. That's important in my life. And also, just don't do maintenance on something great in my life. I continue continue to add new positive energy. I add new positive energy to my relationships, to my fitness, to my art. Yes, things have to be a little more scheduled because it's a new season that I'm giving a tremendous amount of focus to my college work. And yet it's exciting. It's wonderful. I love starting new seasons, and yet I love embracing my old seasons too, which are still a part of my life and hopefully always will be. Hopefully I will always be painting. I may not paint to the degree that I painted before because I had to make room for the other new seasons that have entered my life as well. But I continue to flourish in my paintings. I continue to flourish in my relationships. And yes, I'm scheduled. I have to schedule things a lot, but that's okay. I leave flexibility in there too if I need to change things around for whatever the reason. But I love new seasons. I love new adventures. I love new, positive, wonderful things to be added selectively to my life. From my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Make new great things happen in your life. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. I am amazed at how many people are just stuck in life. They're stuck and they're complacent and they really don't want to be where they're at exactly. And sometimes all it takes is a small change to get a person out of complacency, to get them unstuck. Sometimes it takes more than that. And yet the willingness to make a positive change in one's life will have a positive effect. And so I believe that if a person wants to have a wonderful and amazing life, often they're going to have to make changes in their life to where they're at. Life is always growing. We're always changing. We're always moving on at some level in life. Life is about growth. Things do not stay the same. They may seem like they stay the same, but in reality, they're really not. And so if we wait on change to happen to us, usually it's negative. If we create change, it's usually positive because we're choosing what happens to us, what we create. If we wait on change, often it's not the changes that we want to take place in our lives. Now, granted, some changes can come to us that can bless our lives that we didn't expect. That can happen. And yet, usually in some way, we set that change up in motion beforehand. And so yes, I believe in creating a new and wonderful life to add to the beautiful life that we already have. Often it doesn't take much. Sometimes a little tweaking, sometimes a little refining, sometimes a small change will do it, sometimes a bigger change will do it. Could be with a job, it could be in a relationship. Sometimes we can change our relationships for the better just by simply using different words and a different attitude over that relationship consistently. A lot of times people will say, well, I'll change this relationship, I'll give it a day. Well, if you're just going to give it a relationship a day, or a job a day, or your health fitness plan a day, you're likely going to fail, because most great things take consistency, day in, day out, day in, day out. Great relationships take consistency. If we want to turn a negative relationship around, often it's going to take long-term consistency on our part to turn that relationship around. If we want to improve our jobs, often it's going to take daily effort. If we want to make new friends, often we're going to have to consistently get out there to create new friends. Giving something a one-time approach often will not work towards success. So I believe in giving success all we've got, whether it's a small change, a big change, a little refining, a little tweaking. And I also believe that complacency often keeps people stuck because they're satisfied just enough but not completely satisfied. And so I believe in creating the lives that we dream of. And sometimes it's just by adding something new, something positive to the beautiful life that we already have. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Learning to say no effectively. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I think most of us like to say yes. I love to say yes. I love to say yes to life. But in order to say yes to the right things, often we have to say no to the wrong things for our lives. It doesn't mean that what we are saying no to is necessarily wrong in any way, but it just may not be applicable to our lives. Some people have a hard time saying no. I don't have a hard time saying no. I find that clarity right from the start is often the best course of action to take. I often tell people no, but I try to do it in a right way. I try to do it in a nice manner and a polite manner. And I always say thank you, if at all possible. But I say no more often than I say yes, because I'm very selective about what I say yes to. And I think people who say yes all the time to everything in life often end up with a lot in their lives that they don't want. And so saying yes to the right things is important, but saying no to what should not be in our lives is the right thing to do, in my opinion. So when I say no, I usually say, no, thank you. Or, you know what, that may be a really great idea that you have, but I don't think it quite fits for me. It's not quite right. Or if I'm not certain about it, and maybe I might give them a yes, I'll say, well, you know what, I really need to think on this, and I need to have time. Anytime someone tries to pressure me into a yes answer or to a commitment or to something that I'm not certain about, I tend to back off because it's usually for their own best interests. I remember one time I was buying a car and they practically didn't let me off of the parking lot until I would, buy the car. And I realized that was a lot of pressure. And I said, no, thank you, no, thank you. And I walked away without the car because I didn't need that pressure. Something that was of great value, I believed, did not need that kind of pressure put upon me. I would have willingly bought that car. And so I just truly believe that we have to learn to say no to what's not right for our lives and yes to what is. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you all soon again. And make sure to subscribe, please. Talk to you then. Grandma says old women should wear pantyhose. Grandma says old women shouldn't leave the house without Lycra pantyhose on. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. I'll tell you, I'm 62 years old. Y'all know I'm 62 years old. I talk about it all the time. And one of the things you don't know about me is that I don't go out of the house without some kind of Lycra on. Usually it's in the form of pantyhose, but it could be leotards, it could be whatever. Now, pretty much my body, everything is in its place where it should be. But, when women hit the age of 60 plus, things start sliding a little bit south. And so Lycra really, really can pull it all together. Now, I'm very fortunate. I don't have to wear Lycra, but out of habit, I wear Lycra. And so Grandma says, don't go out of the house without your Lycra on if you're over 60 years old. But I do. I wear pantyhose, and usually when I'm running, if I'm running and I'm out there, and I usually have shorts on, short shorts, because it makes it easier, but I do wear my Lycra because it's supportive of my legs, and it's supportive, and I think, we all need that support as we get older. So I really do. I think Lycra is a great thing, whether it's in the form of pantyhose or in any other form of Lycra, and I don't know if pantyhose is really Lycra or not, but they just kind of, pull it all together perfectly. So, as we get older, there's things that change in our bodies that weren't there when we were younger. Like we get aches and pains that we never had before. Well, fortunately, I really don't have any aches and pains. The only ache and pain that I've got is sometimes on my left foot. I have a little bit difficulty in the middle of the night when I get up because I have a little scar tissue that developed after I ran my foot into a piece of furniture in the middle of the night. And so that scar tissue sometimes it will bother me. So when I step down, but that's really, I'm very fortunate that that's really the only ache and pain that I have. Don't have a problem running though with it because somehow the running massages it. And so there's no issue with that. But I truly do believe that, as we get older, we have to take care of our bodies in ways that we didn't before. I do wear reading glasses. Now, I can read without the glasses. I have 20/20 vision, but I have to strain now, whereas when I was younger, I didn't. So I wear reading glasses to make it easy because, well, I go to college at age 62, and I do a lot of online reading. And I think reading online can bother one's eyes if you do it for prolonged periods of time. And, I just take really good care of me. I take care of my teeth. I use the electric vibrating toothbrush, the kind that vibrates and massages your gums at the same time and all that. I use that. And I floss after every meal. I floss. And so I've always taken wonderful care of myself, but I think as we get older, we have to really pay special attention to every part of our body, our skin. Sometimes some people get more fragile skin as they get older. My mom, she had to wear like socks, cut out socks. We would cut the bottoms of the socks off and we would put them up over her arms so that if she bumped her arm or something, her skin would not rip. So, some people as they get older, their bodies in different ways changes, and sometimes we have to adapt to that. And part of it is Lycra. I wear the Lycra when I'm out there. So now you know my secret. Well, from Grandma's porch, what would Grandma say? She'd say, wear your Lycra, wear your Lycra. So from Grandma's porch, may God bless you, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. Bye-bye. Older people and mentorship, wisdom. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brianne. I believe in getting closer to older people because I believe that they have wisdom that younger people do not have. Now, I'm not saying that all older people have wisdom. I'm saying older people tend to have wisdom. Younger people think they have wisdom because they have book smarts, but book smarts and wisdom do not equate the same thing. They're not the same thing. It's great to have book smarts, but wisdom comes with time. It comes with living. It comes with having seen things and experienced things, whether it's firsthand or secondhand. And often older people have that, and that's something that younger people don't have. Even to this day, I turn to older people when I seek answers. Not all older people have the answers. Not all older people are wise, but they tend to be. Even the ones who are not so wise tend to have lived life and experienced things and made mistakes that perhaps can help me navigate so that I don't make the same mistakes. So I tend to turn towards older people. I tend to get close to older people for their wisdom, to get their knowledge. And often it is so beneficial to my life. I grew up around a grandmother who just taught me everything from the Bible, and she taught me so much of her wisdom. My mother, and I had so many other older people that really helped shape my life in a very, very positive way. So that even at this day, I turn to people who are older than me to gain their wisdom. From my house to yours, God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye. Older women and men rock. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brianne. Well, I wanted to come on here and talk about aging and getting older. It's a subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about. But you know what? As a 62-year-old woman, I'm going to talk about it. Okay. Being 62, I mean, when I was younger, 62 looked so old. And now it looks so young to me. I feel 29. I don't feel 62. And, my attitude age is 29. My technical age is 62. And, so what happens when we get older? I once heard a woman say to me, she said, when I turned 40, men quit looking at me. Well, you know what? I'm 62 and men still look at me. Okay. And I think it's attitude. I think that at every age, if we keep a great attitude, we keep an energized spirit about us, I believe that we are going to be young forever. Who says 90-year-old people are old? It's us who say 90-year-old people are old. Anybody older than us is old. But that's not true. When you're 90, you're probably going to think, wow, I'm young. I'm not that old. I want to live to be 100 or 110. And so age is just a number, and it's just a perspective, and it's an attitude. For me, being 62, I rock. I'm going to college at age 62, full-time college student. I have 3 young children, not young children, but they're young adult children who live at home in their early 20s who go to college. So they are full of energy and keep me young. I have a husband who's a little bit younger than me. He's full of energy. And so I'm full of energy, but I think I actually have more energy than all of them. And so don't let someone tell you that you're old just because maybe you're older than them. Age is just a number. It's what you make of it. It's what you decide to do with it. You rock. Rock at any age of your life. Rock on. I rock on. I am always out there making my life happen. I get up enthused. I'm enthused every day. I wake up, I think about what can I do to create a better life for me and for those that I love and for those that I talk to. How can I create a better world? What can I do to make life happen? What can I do to make life rock? So remember, you can make your life rock. Make your life rock. Get energized. Get out there. Believe in who you are. Don't think old. Think young. Remember, age is an attitude. So even if you're 90 years old and you have a young attitude, you're young. If you're 25 and you think old, you're old. So age is an attitude. And I just believe in keeping energy, momentum, keep our dreams going on, and rock on, rock on. I hope you subscribe to my channel. May God bless you, and rock on. One bad apple. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, like the old saying goes. One bad apple, one negative person, one pessimist, one gossiper, one rumor spreader can ruin great relationships. So for me personally, in my in-person life and my virtual life, if I see someone who is acting out in a negative way, I unfriend them or I block them. In other words, I zap them. Because you know what? If you leave a gossiper, a rumor spreader, a pessimist, a negative person around you, it's going to infect you, I believe. And so for me, I don't do that. When I say zapping, I mean I just discontinue any kind of a relationship with them. And so if it's on virtual media, I block them. If it is in person, I just simply walk away. I don't have a relationship. So what do you do with someone like that, one bad apple, who comes into the workplace? Well, I first of all believe in identifying them. And I believe in only interacting with them on a professional level. So what happens when you're doing your work and they're talking bad about you? In cases like that, for me personally, and I don't give suggestions or advice, but for me personally, I would probably go to my higher up immediately family and discuss the problem and the strategy that is necessary to eliminate that problem. Because it can happen in the workplace, it can happen at church, it can happen in the neighborhood. Oh yeah, neighborhoods are very notorious for that. Now, I live in a wonderful neighborhood, and so I'm very fortunate, but I've been in neighborhoods that are gossip, gossip, gossip. And it can be harmful. It can infect, but most of all, it infects the person spreading it because, well, they're already infected. So it makes people sick. People who gossip and malign other people are really kind of sick individuals to begin with, in my opinion. So what I believe is that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. So I get rid of that apple immediately. From my house to yours, may God bless you. And I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.